By the end of this video, I'm going to expose 10 wealth tactics the middle class never notices. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The middle class isn't broke because they're lazy. They're broke because they're blind. Blind to the wealth tactics happening right in front of them, literally every single day. And you know what's wild? Millionaires don't have some secret code word like open sesame. They're just using money plays the average person never even notices, like Easter eggs hidden in plain sight. And no, one of them is not skip your $5 latte. If I see that one more time, I'm gonna throw my coffee at the internet. See, the middle class spends most of their energy chasing what looks like wealth. The car, the house in the good neighborhood, the vacation Instagram story. But real wealth, it hides in boring moves, in systems, in tiny plays that compound over time. And if you don't notice them, you're stuck on a hamster wheel while the quiet rich are building empires in the background. So take notes because we're breaking them each down step by step. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. 10. The game of hidden equity. Let's start with the first blind spot, equity. Not the stock market type yet. We'll get there in a minute. I'm talking about equity hiding in the roof over your head. The middle class thinks of a house like a finish line. Yes, we bought a home. We made it. Meanwhile, wealthy people, they look at a house like a chess piece. It's not the trophy. It's a tool. The middle class stretches themselves thin for the dream house with granite countertops, and then they just live in it. That's it. End of story. But the wealthy, they squeeze equity out of real estate like it's an orange. Refinance when rates dip, leverage that equity to buy another property, pull cash out tax-free to invest in businesses. The house is working harder than they are. Here's the real kicker. Middle-class folks brag about paying off their mortgage early, like it's a flex. But wealthy people laugh, because why lock money into a wall when that same cash could be out multiplying itself? It's like owning a goose that lays golden eggs, but instead of using the eggs, you just frame the goose's photo and hang it on the wall. The wealthy? They're selling omelets, running brunch spots, franchising the whole thing. To the middle class, debt equals bad. They've been trained since childhood that all debt is the devil. Meanwhile, the wealthy know. Debt isn't the enemy, it's the weapon. They see equity as leverage, not something to lock away and feel safe about. So while the middle class is patting themselves on the back for paying off that 30-year mortgage early, the wealthy are using their homes like personal ATMs to buy assets that actually cash flow. And speaking of cash flow, tactic number 9 is something so invisible, it literally hides on your pay stub, and most people don't even know it's there. 9. The invisible paycheck hack. All right, let's talk about something 99% of people never notice, pre-tax advantages. Look, the middle class thinks of their paycheck like it's sacred. They see a number, they get excited, and then boom, Uncle Sam shows up like that friend who forgot their wallet at dinner. Half your plate gone. But the wealthy? They know the paycheck is just an illusion. They use pre-tax tactics like retirement accounts, HSAs, or even funneling expenses through businesses to shrink that taxable income before it gets hit. Basically, it goes like this. Middle class mentality, I'll just work hard, get paid, and whatever's left after taxes is mine. Wealthy mentality, I'm not waiting until taxes eat my lunch. I'm stacking the deck before the dealer shows up. Here's the math shocker. If you're middle class making $70,000 and you don't use pre-tax accounts, you might end up giving away an extra $5,000 to $10,000 a year without even realizing it. Meanwhile, someone who maxes out pre-tax strategies could turn that same $70,000 into building blocks for investments, all while lowering their tax bill. Imagine you and your friend both buy a $20 pizza. You hand the cashier a $50 bill. They hand you back $30. Your friend, though, knows a trick. He hands them $20 directly and walks out with his pizza untouched. That's the difference between the middle class and the wealthy when it comes to pre-tax hacks. And while the middle class is busy arguing about whether they should get paid weekly or bi-weekly, the wealthy are laughing because they know the real game isn't how often you get paid. It's where the money goes after you get it. Which brings us to tactic number 8. The move that quietly multiplies dollars while you're asleep. 8. The compound interest time machine. This one's obvious to the wealthy, but completely invisible to most people. The earlier you start, the richer you get, even if you don't earn that much. Middle-class folks treat investing like a someday thing. I'll start when I make more money. Spoiler, they never do. The wealthy? They treat time like an employee. The earlier the investment, the harder time works for them. Compound interest is like planting a tree. If you plant at 25, by 55 you've got a forest. If you plant at 35, by 55 you've got a shrub. Still cool, but nobody's retiring under a shrub. So why does the middle class miss this? Because they're too focused on looking rich today. They'd rather have the shiny car in their driveway at 30 than the millionaire account at 50. They'll finance a $40,000 car, but call investing $500 a month too expensive. Wealthy people flip it. They delay the car to build the million. Middle-class folks don't feel compound interest because it's invisible. The payoff doesn't flex on Instagram tomorrow. But the wealthy? They know invisible money is the best money. It grows in silence while everyone else is busy buying liabilities. So while the middle class is showing off their financed SUVs, the wealthy are quietly letting compound interest build them empires. By the way, if you're someone dedicated to building a life of financial freedom, we've created an entire playlist that focuses on the stealth wealth mindset. When you finish watching this, go back and watch our previous videos and subscribe to the channel to always stay updated. But anyways, now wait until you see tactic number 7. Because this one is so boring, most people literally fall asleep when you mention it, but it's the exact reason rich people never panic when life hits them. 7. The emergency fund safety net. Here's something the middle class almost never notices until it's too late. The boring power of an emergency fund. Middle class folks treat emergencies like Netflix subscriptions. Oh, it's only $14.99 a month. I'll deal with it when it pops up. But here's reality. Life doesn't bill you in subscriptions. Life bills you in your car just died. That's $3,200. Or your kid broke their arm. Congrats. $1,800. The wealthy? They never panic when these curveballs hit because they've built what looks boring on the surface. A simple emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, sitting in boring old cash or high-yield savings. Most middle-class people think they're doing fine until life slaps them with an unexpected. Then what happens? They swipe the credit card, load up debt, and boom, game over. That's how people spiral. Rich folks? They just write a check and move on. Crisis avoided. It's like two drivers both hit the same pothole. One has a spare tire in the trunk. They swap it and keep driving. The other has no spare, no jack, no plan. They're on the side of the road crying, waiting for AAA. That's the difference between wealthy and middle-class money prep. They simply miss this because emergency fund doesn't sound sexy. Nobody's posting on Instagram, "Look at my $15,000 savings account." But it's exactly what prevents financial ruin. The middle class would rather finance another gadget than fund their safety net. The wealthy know boring protects you so exciting opportunities don't crush you. Now here's the twist. While most people are stressing about how to survive an emergency, wealthy people already have that covered, which frees them up to do something the middle class never even thinks about. Building money streams that work harder than they do, and that's tactic number 6. 6. Multiple income streams, aka the quiet backup singers. This one is so obvious to the wealthy but practically invisible to the middle class. You can't rely on one paycheck. Middle class folks love the job security myth. They believe if they stay loyal, grind hard, and smile at the company picnic, they'll be safe. But one email with the subject line, company restructuring, and that paycheck is gone. The wealthy? They treat income like a band. The main job might be the lead singer, but they've got backup singers, side hustles, dividends, rental income, online businesses. So the show goes on even if one mic cuts out. The middle class believes extra income feels like too much work. After 9 to 5, they want Netflix, not a side hustle. But the wealthy know the first stream of income pays the bills, the second creates freedom, the third builds wealth. And with today's digital economy, there are more low-barrier options than ever before. YouTube channels, affiliate marketing, freelancing, digital products. The middle class wants comfort today. The wealthy want freedom tomorrow. That's why the average person spends Saturday binge-watching shows about rich people, while wealthy people spend Saturday building cash flow that makes them rich. So while the middle class is putting all their eggs in one basket and then accidentally sitting on it, the wealthy are stacking streams like Lego bricks. And that brings us straight into tactic number 5. A move so sneaky, it almost feels like cheating the system. But it's completely legal. 5. Tax loopholes the middle class step over. Here's a dirty little secret. The rich don't avoid taxes because they're smarter. They avoid taxes because they read the rule book. Meanwhile, the middle class is out here playing Monopoly without realizing there's a get-out-of-jail-free card sitting on the table. Middle-class folks file taxes once a year, pray for a refund, and brag about their $2,500 check like they just won the lottery. The wealthy, they know refunds mean you just gave the government an interest-free loan. Congrats! You're the nicest lender Uncle Sam ever had. Wealthy people don't just file taxes, they plan taxes. They use LLCs, S-Corp, write-offs, depreciation, and credits. Business meals, mileage, even home office deductions, all reducing taxable income legally. The middle class thinks taxes are a fixed bill, like Netflix. Oh, it just costs what it costs. Wrong. Taxes are flexible if you know how to play. The middle class doesn't notice deductions and credits because they're too busy chasing overtime hours. The wealthy, they structure their lives so the IRS practically says, okay, fine, you win. And while the middle class is bragging about tax refunds, the wealthy are bragging about never needing one because their money never left in the first place. But taxes are just one layer. The real power move is how you buy things. Which brings us to tactic number 4, the sneakiest way the wealthy win while everyone else racks up debt. Number 4, the asset first purchase rule. Here's a wealth tactic that makes middle-class heads spin. Rich people rarely buy luxuries with income. They buy luxuries with assets. The middle class gets a raise? Boom. New car. Bonus check? Boom. Let's go shopping. They burn money on liabilities faster than TikTok burns through dance trends. The wealthy flip the script. They don't say, can I afford it? They ask, what asset can I buy that will pay for it? It's like two people who both want a lifetime supply of pizza. The middle class buys a stack of pies today and hopes it lasts. The wealthy, they buy the pizzeria. Now pizza shows up forever. You see, the middle class confuses affordability with wealth. Just because you can buy something doesn't mean you should. The wealthy wait. They use assets as cash flow machines that fund luxuries guilt-free. That's why their toys don't sink them into debt, they're byproducts of smart investing. The middle class uses purchases to look rich now. The wealthy use purchases to prove wealth later. One screams insecurity, the other whispers power. So while the middle class is drowning in car payments, the wealthy are literally making their investments foot the bill for vacations, toys, and fun. But the sneakiest part? They're doing it in a way that makes them richer while looking poorer. And that, my friends, is tactic number 3. 3. The stealth wealth disguise. Here's one the middle class never notices, even though it's hiding in plain sight. The wealthiest people in the room rarely look like it. Middle class folks are trained to flex. New car, post it. Designer shoes, flash them. Look at me, I'm winning. Meanwhile, wealthy people are out here looking like they shop exclusively at Costco. Hoodie, modest car, plain watch. Yet they're sitting on 7 figures. Why? Because stealth wealth is a tactic. If you don't look rich, you don't attract leeches, thieves, haters, or that one cousin who suddenly remembers your number when rent's due. More importantly, you don't inflate your lifestyle just to keep up with fake appearances. Think of 2 guys at the bar. One rolls in with a Gucci belt, leased BMW parked out front, and orders a round of shots for everyone. The other, plain t-shirt, sipping water, checking his phone. Guess who has $80,000 in credit card debt, and guess who quietly owns 3 rental properties? Spoiler, it ain't Gucci guy. The middle class wants validation. The wealthy want freedom. One buys brands to prove they matter. The other buys assets so they never have to prove anything. And while the middle class is out here playing dress up with debt, the wealthy are blending in like ninjas, stacking millions without anyone noticing. But here's the kicker. It's not just how they look, it's also how they think about risk. And that brings us to tactic number 2. The reason the middle class is terrified of losing while the wealthy keep winning. Number 2, the calculated risk game. Let's be real. The middle class hates risk. To them, risk equals danger. They'll avoid investing, avoid side hustles, avoid moving jobs, all because they're scared of losing. But here's the truth. Avoiding risk is the biggest risk of all. The wealthy, they don't avoid risk. They manage it. They study, calculate, hedge, and then take swings that look risky to outsiders but are actually safer than standing still. The middle class have been trained to see safety in jobs, pensions, and savings accounts. But those aren't safe. They're slow death traps when inflation eats your money alive. Wealthy people see risk differently. Not taking action is riskier than investing, failing, and adjusting. The middle class wants certainty. The wealthy want opportunity. And opportunities always wear disguises called risk. The rich just learned how to peek under the mask. But there's one final tactic they use that ties everything together. And it's the most invisible one of all. If you miss this, you'll never get off the hamster wheel. That's tactic number one. Number one, the long game mindset. This one is the most invisible of all, and it's why the middle class never catches up. Wealthy people think in decades, not days. Middle class folks crave instant results. If an investment doesn't pop in a year, they panic and sell. If a side hustle doesn't pay big in 3 months, they quit. Their time horizon is TikTok short. The wealthy, they play chess on a 20-year board. They know the first moves are boring: saving, investing, reinvesting, building cash flow. But they also know boring builds unstoppable momentum. Think of two people at the gym. One expects a six-pack after 2 weeks of sit-ups. When it doesn't happen, they quit. The other knows results take months, even years, but keeps grinding. Guess who actually gets the six-pack? Same with wealth. It goes like this. The middle class asks, "How can I get rich fast?" The wealthy ask, "How can I stay rich forever?" That's why one's always chasing the next lottery ticket and the other is quietly building empires. Now let's pull this together. None of these wealth tactics are magic. None require a secret handshake, trust fund, or Mensa IQ. They're hiding in plain sight. But the reason the middle class never sees them? They're too distracted by looking rich instead of quietly building it. And that's the difference. Wealth isn't about what you show. It's about what you grow. Now here's what I want you to do. Comment the words, "I'm upper class." And hey, if you truly want to level up, guess what? We know the real reason why people dumber than you are getting rich. We break it down entirely in this next video. Just click the video on the screen here, and we'll see you in the next one.